Hey guys, so I got this question from Rob via Instagram, and he's looking to start training. The gym he's looking at offers classes 6 days a week, with Monday to Friday is regular kind of training classes, and then Saturday is open mat with sparring. But his current schedule means he can only train one time per week, and he's just a bit worried that it's not going to be worth his time invested if he can't progress at the fastest rate possible, and I was wondering what the best thing to do really is. So first of all, thanks very much for the questions. Really cool that you're looking to start training at this new gym, whether it's a different art to what you've done before, or if you're just looking to start martial arts altogether. It's all good, and I think you'll get a lot of benefit from it. And the short answer is yes, start training now, and your future self will thank you for it. There's a question I heard recently, which was, when's the best time to plant a tree? Well, 20 years ago. Okay, when's the second best time to plant a tree? Well, today. So, there we go. Let's get cracking. For a longer answer, then there's a few points that I just want to go over and highlight some of my ideas on it. Now, the first one is totally appreciate your desire to try and progress at the fastest rate possible. And if you're looking at, there's a gym with 6 classes a week, then yeah, the fastest rate possible might well be training in all 6 classes a week. But you've already said your schedule only allows you to train one time per week, so that's actually the fastest rate possible for you. So you're already doing that. So unless you can change your schedule to increase your training time, if you think it's that important to you, change your schedule within reason. Don't over-sacrifice other things, and if they're important to your life too, I realise everyone has balance. You've got work, you've got family, you've got other hobbies, activities. You probably need to eat and sleep and, sort your house out various times during the week as well. So find out the right balance, and only you know whether you can really squeeze any more time out of your schedule this week to get more training in. But even if it's just one time a week, that's cool. Go with that. That's your maximum frequency right now. It might change in the future, so try not to beat yourself up about something that's out of your control. So the second point is, if you have a good instructor, then they'll rotate through topics and drills and skills and techniques and focus over time. So over 6 months or something, you'll rotate through a syllabus, and that means that over time, everyone, whether you train one time a week or 6 times a week, will get exposure to everything that's in the syllabus. Unless there's a really specific class, like you might have a class that's particularly about takedowns, or a class that's particularly for sparring or something. Although I suspect if you're brand new at the gym, you might not be eligible to join those classes yet. So yes, over time should get exposure to everything. My third point is, and this is a really easy trap to get stuck in, it's something that has happened to me before as well, which is don't compare yourself to others. You're walking your own path, and although you might kind of walk side by side with someone else for a few steps or a few miles or for 10 years, they're on their own path as well. It's just coincidence that it's parallel to yours. So try not to compare yourself to the progress rates of others, because that's only really going to lead to disappointment. Because, as human beings, we have this loss aversion, cognitive bias, so we tend to amplify things that we've missed out on or things that we lose more than things that we've actually gained and things that we've won. So you can change your own focus, but it takes a little conscious effort to do so. So walk your own path and try not to compare yourself to the progress rate of others. If you and someone else start on the same day and they do 6 times a week and you do 1 time a week, then chances are they're probably going to progress a little bit faster just because of the amount of training time they're doing. Of course, it might be that you have the mind for it and they don't, and you might progress at the same rate, or maybe the other way around. They may get overloaded by 6 days a week and frustrated and come up against plateaus and roadblocks really, really quickly. So 1 time a week's what you can do now. Don't beat yourself up about it. Try not to compare yourself to others. It's your path, you're walking it. Of course, if you want to get more training in that's outside of class time, then that's certainly a thing you can possibly do. If you can, ideally you'd find a training partner who's going to the same gym and going to the same class, so you can learn the same stuff and then practice it during the week on the remaining 6 days before you come back around to class. So you've had a little more repetition and a little more training volume before you come back around for your class in week 2, and that will be useful. If not, you can ask your instructor for any solo drills they might recommend if there's useful training you could do on your own. Of course, you can take notes. Actually, taking notes for me was a really, really beneficial way of cementing what we did in the class, and I just write it down. It doesn't matter what method I'd use to write it down. It started off just kind of literally writing a story of what we did, and eventually kind of came up with my own notation, shorthand for it, and like drawing little diagrams. Just the act of writing it down means you go through it again in your mind and try and remember all the details, and it helps cement that idea inside your head. And then also you can watch videos on YouTube, but there's a note of caution against this. If you're a raw beginner, this may be more overload than is useful. So yeah, treat that one with a note of caution. And it doesn't always have to be of the same martial art as well. You know, if you're training a martial art that's for self-defense or something, then watching MMA fights can really help you get the idea of positioning and range judgment, and trying to watch for the clues as to when someone's going to throw a strike or shoot a takedown or whatever it is. It can be beneficial. It doesn't have to be specific to the style you're training in, I don't think. Anyway, probably get some really style crazy people on disagree with me, but that's okay. That's just my opinion. Your opinion's good too. Okay, I suppose my final point is you've had this idea for whatever reason that you want to start training, or you need to start training, and I don't know what the motivation is behind that, but it's led you to this point where you've looked up a cool gym nearby and there's just something holding you back, and I'm not quite sure what that is. You don't need my permission, but consider it this way around. Training 1 time a week, yeah, maybe it's not quite as good as training 6 times a week, but of course you may get diminishing returns, and it's not necessarily going to be 6 times as good to train 6 times a week, if you see what I mean. But training 1 time a week is infinitely more than training no times a week. So you've decided you want to do something, and the best way to get going is to literally get going. So, ended up coming around full circle back to my first answer, and I hope this ramble is not too long. Hope this helps, Rob, and enjoy your training. Have a good journey. Okay.